Squidward. Welcome to the night shift.
Good evening, folks, and hello again, and welcome into a brand new episode of The Night Shift. This is episode number 48 of The Night Shift here on this Saturday night. My name is Isaiah Leung, and I'm coming to you live from the Bay Area. Tonight, it's just going to be a solo program as my fellow co-hosts, Martin Garcia and John Alcorn could not be with us tonight, but don't fear, everybody. We are going to have a fun time here on the night shift tonight. I can promise you that. We've got a jam-packed program for you guys. We've got a lot of college basketball to get into, a lot of NBA action to get into, and then we've got some MLB news that we have to get into as well. So grab your popcorn and sit back and relax and enjoy this program. It's going to be so much fun. But before we get into this program, I just want to say, give a quick reminder to all of you guys out there. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you guys go check out our MI6 Sports Network YouTube channel. We are doing a new thing here on our YouTube channel where we are clipping off every segment of every program that we have here on the MI6 Sports Network, whether it's Wild Sports Talk or the Night Shift, like tonight, or No BS, or That One Dude 2020 with my man John Alcorn. We're going to take each show and clip every segment of it and post each segment of the shows onto our YouTube channel. So that's a new thing that we're going to be doing. So make sure you guys go check out some of the short clips that we have out. And while you're at it, guys, make sure you guys go and give our YouTube channel a like, or a subscribe, on YouTube. We would really, really appreciate that. And also, if you're watching the show on Facebook, please give our Facebook page a like and also a follow as well. We would really appreciate that as well. And also, you guys can find us on Twitter. I think our Twitter handle is at MI6 Sports. You can find us on Instagram as well. You can find us basically on every single social media platform. And also, you guys can follow us on Anchor and listen to our podcast on Anchor as well. But going into tonight's program, like I said, we've got a jam-packed program for you. We start out in Bloomington, Indiana. College basketball, we have Michigan against Indiana, and the Michigan Wolverines, ladies and gentlemen, pull off a 73-57 victory over the Indiana Hoosiers. The Michigan Wolverines improved to 18-1, while the Indiana Hoosiers dropped to 12-12. And ladies and gentlemen, my takeaways from this game is that, like I've been saying all along, Michigan proved again that they are the best team right now in all of college basketball. Michigan, we already know how good their defense is, but their offense is coming together at the right time. You look at the game from today, Franz Wagner, who I have continuously praised on various programs on this network when talking about Michigan. Franz Wagner, I think, is going to be a future all-star in the NBA. That's just how good this guy is. This guy is not like his brother Mo. He's 6'7". He moves pretty smoothly without the basketball. He's a great shooter from the perimeter. He can get to the basket. He's got great handles. This guy is fantastic. He's only a sophomore right now in college. He's got a lot more, developing he needs to do. But man, this guy is already special, and the best is still yet to come for him. He had 21 points and 6 rebounds in 35 minutes of play for Michigan. He was fantastic on offense. He was fantastic on defense. He did it all for the Michigan Wolverines. And then you look at Isaiah Livers, 16 points, 10 rebounds, 1 assist in 27 minutes of play. Hunter Dickinson was his usual monster self. He had 13 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 assists in 29 minutes of play. And then Mike Smith, who started for the Wolverines today, he had 14 points in 34 minutes of play. Then you go to the other side and look at Indiana. Indiana got contributions from Trace Jackson Davis, who had 10 points in 35 minutes of play. Race Thompson, who had 11 points in 33 minutes of play. Ajami Durham, who had 15 points, but they just could not get consistent scoring all the way around from everybody on that Indiana ball club, from everybody. That's what you're going to have to do to beat Michigan. You can't beat Michigan by just 3 guys scoring 10-plus points. No, you got to get a full team effort on offense, and then on defense, you just got to clamp down on their shooters and hope for the best, because Michigan is starting to find their groove on offense. And let me tell you, folks, that is a very, very scary sight for the rest of the college basketball world. Michigan, in my opinion, right now, I think they're the best team in college basketball. You guys know how I feel about Gonzaga. I do not trust Gonzaga come postseason NCAA tournament time. I think they're going to somehow find a way to lose once again in the tournament. And I just like Juwan Howard and what he's done with the Michigan basketball team. You know, he's running it like an NBA franchise, you know, creating that brotherhood, making it a defensive-oriented team. Like we talked about last night on No BS. Defense wins in basketball. I don't care if you're playing high school basketball. I don't care if you're playing college basketball. I don't care if you're playing NBA basketball. I don't care how good your offense is. If you don't have a good defense, I'm not saying a great defense. I'm saying a good defense. If you don't have a good defense, you're not going to win anything. No matter what levels of basketball that you are playing. You have to be able to play good defense in order to win when playing basketball. Michigan's got a great defense, and you combine that with an offense that is starting to get it together. They are a very, very scary team to watch. I will be stunned if Michigan does not win the Big Ten this season. And also, one more thing from this game before we get into the comment section and see what you guys have to say about this game, and that is Archie Miller has to go. Archie Miller, listen, Archie Miller was a guy that was one of the hot commodities in the coaching market 4 years ago, and he came to Indiana. He was supposed to be the guy that was supposed to elevate this Indiana basketball program and make it even better than what Tom Crean had done at Indiana. But ever since Archie Miller has been at Indiana, though, Indiana Hoosiers have just been inconsistent. They've been mediocre in every single season he's been there, and their offense has not looked great. Defensively, they've been decent, but not great. Indiana, they're just a mediocre basketball program right now, and it's been 4 years, man. I think you've seen enough from what Archie Miller has done there in Bloomington, Indiana. And if I'm those administrators at Indiana, I think it's time to move on from Archie Miller. I'm not saying Archie Miller's a bad coach. I think he's a good coach, but he's not the kind of coach that would take Indiana to that next level. You know, I compare Indiana to the Texas of college football, or Texas, you know, in college football, of college basketball. Like, it's a program that, you know, the fans, they want it to be this, you know, high, great program. But in reality, right now, they're just mediocre. And Indiana, you know, they don't want to be mediocre. You know, I compare this to, you know, whether it was Charlie Strong at Texas and then Tom Herman at Texas. They want a guy to help them become great. And I just think Archie Miller, even though I think he's a good coach, I think he's a decent coach, I don't think he's the guy that's going to bring them to greatness there in Bloomington. I think Archie Miller has to go if Indiana wants to go from mediocre to either good or great. But going into our comment section, man, we've got a lot of comments from you guys. We have a lot of comments. Wow, we got a lot. Callan tunes in. He says, hey, Leung, you're being watched, Callan. I really appreciate you tuning in to the night shift tonight. This was your project, my man. I'm just helping to keep it afloat as you're on hiatus right now and make it strong once you come back. Casey King says, good evening, Isaiah. What's up, Casey? Thank you so much for tuning in, my man. Edward Lee says, hello. What's up, Edward? Thank you for tuning in as well. And Callan, Isaiah starts a show with Michigan talk. I'm out. Come on, Callan. I'm talking about the number 2 team in college basketball right now, or they will be number 2 after the new standings are released after Kansas upset Baylor today. But I'm talking about a number 2 team in college basketball. I'm not talking about a scrub Michigan program. This Michigan basketball team is very, very good right now. So, Cal, that's why I started with Michigan talk. SG says, hi, Isaiah. What's up, man? Thank you so much for tuning in. Casey King writes in, that game was a joke. I agree with you, Casey. It started out decent in the first half, but Michigan just proved too much for Indiana in the second half as they pulled away. Roberto says, sup, bro? What's up, Roberto? Thank you so much for tuning in, my man. I hope you enjoy the show tonight. Casey says, Michigan does look good, but another team who is getting hot is Michigan State, and they can be dangerous down the stretch going into the tournament, and those 2 final games against each other coming up are going to be a dandy. I completely agree with you on this, Casey. I said after Michigan beat Ohio State, me and Steven did the whole Michigan-Ohio State, post-game show last Sunday, and I said, do not count out the Blue Bloods. Do not count out Duke. Do not count out Kentucky. Do not count out Kansas. Do not count out Michigan State. Do not count out the Blue Bloods, because those teams, even though they might be struggling right now and they might be having subpar seasons, if they get into the tournament, they might be dangerous because they have championship experience. You talk about Coach K. You talk about Calipari. You talk about Roy Williams at North Carolina. You talk about Izzo at Michigan State. Those coaches know how to flip that switch and win. So do not count them out, even though they might be bad. But those coaches, never count them out as long as those coaches are coaching at their respective programs. Casey King says, I do agree about Gonzaga as they can be beat, and look at the conference that they play in. James Gonzalez says, hi, everyone. Sorry I'm late. Played a lot of basketball on this college basketball Saturday and took a good nap after. James, don't worry about it, my man. You're good. Hopefully, your team won today when you guys were playing pickup basketball, and hopefully you lit it up on the court. Let's see. Casey King also says, other than St. Mary's, the rest of the conference Gonzaga plays in the teams that they play are just a bunch of Higgins. I agree with you on this, Casey. That's why I say, I want to see what they do come tournament time. Plus, they just have a reputation, for just going into the tournament and just always losing in unfortunate times. So I got to see what Gonzaga does in the tournament until I can start to believe in them. Let's see. James says, Indiana has been in shambles for years now. I totally agree with you on that. Casey King says, Indiana needs a new coach. And then James also says, okay, Isaiah, who should Indiana hire then? James, I'm going to give you one name, and this might shock you, and that is John Beilein. John Beilein is he's a very respected college basketball coach. He did a lot of things at Michigan. He is available right now. I think he's working right now for the Big Ten Network or the ACC Network. I'm not sure which one of them is, but John Beilein, I think, would be a tremendous hire for Indiana. I think he's a guy that would come in and would be respected from day one and would be able to change that program and get Indiana back to where Indiana wants to go, and that is being great. But the only issue, though, is I don't know if John Beilein wants to go back to the Big Ten because he is very, very loyal to Michigan, having spent a lot of years there in Ann Arbor. So I don't know if he wants to go back to the Big Ten and have to compete against Michigan each and every year to try to win the Big Ten and get a good seed in the NCAA tournament. Casey King says, this March Madness is going to be interesting and exciting. I totally agree with you, Casey. It's just wide open, man. You don't really know who's going to win it and what's going to happen. Anything is possible this season. SG says the Michigan Wolverines are dominating in the Big Ten with a record of 18-1 with a 7-game winning streak. Yeah, they are just a red hot team right now. And what's really good about this or great about this is that they didn't stop after coming off a 3-week layoff in which they had COVID. So Juwan Howard's done an amazing job there in Ann Arbor this season. And, my choice for Coach of the Year award would definitely go to him. And James says Indiana should hire Isaiah Thomas. That would be a very, very interesting hire, James. That would be a very interesting hire. But I don't know, man. I think John Beilein would be a much better choice for Indiana. But we'll see what happens as the season starts to wind down. But moving into our next game, and that is one of the big upsets that happened today on college basketball Saturday, and that was the North Carolina Tar Heels upsetting the number 11 Florida State Seminoles 78-70 in Chapel Hill and giving Roy Williams his 900th career victory as a head coach. Ladies and gentlemen, my thoughts on this game is, before this win, North Carolina was a fringe bubble team. I mean, they had a lot of bad losses this season. They were inconsistent. But I believe now that after this game, after this win by North Carolina, I believe that North Carolina has cemented their status for the tournament. I believe that North Carolina is now in to the NCAA tournament and no longer a team that is, like in the bubble and the final weeks having to, think about having to decide if they're going to make it or not. I think North Carolina for sure is now in to the NCAA tournament. They've got a lot of quality wins this season, and now you add a win over a number 11 solid Florida State team. Let me say this. Watch out for North Carolina, guys, in the NCAA tournament because, like I said earlier when we talked about Michigan, and we talked about Michigan State, never count out the Blue Bloods. And Roy Williams and North Carolina, they've got a lot of championship experience. They know how to win. And I know they had a subpar season, but the Tar Heels look like they are turning things around right now in Chapel Hill. And they're going to be a problem come NCAA tournament time. They're going to be a pest to whoever they play come tournament time. And I'm excited to see, what they do in the NCAA tournament. You look at this game, Walker Kessler was fantastic off the bench for UNC. He had 20 points in 24 minutes of play with 8 rebounds. Caleb Love was fantastic. Kerwin Walton was great too for the Tar Heels. North Carolina is starting to turn it around, and everyone should watch out because if the Tar Heels can get things going, get things rolling, they're going to be a problem come March Madness time. James Gonzalez says, I knew Florida State wasn't real. I totally agree with you on that, James. I was very pessimistic about FSU, and today's game proved why. Florida State just showed that they weren't real, and, I'm scared, James, for UNC. I really am. I think that UNC could be a problem in March. But going into our third game for tonight, and that comes in Lawrence, Kansas, where the Kansas Jayhawks, another massive upset happened today in college basketball. The Kansas Jayhawks, the number 17 Kansas Jayhawks, upset the number 2 Baylor Bears 71-58 in Lawrence, Kansas. And folks, let me tell you guys this. I never believed in Baylor. I always thought that Baylor was overhyped, and today's game proved why. The Kansas Jayhawks, they came into this game. They had gotten it going the last couple of games. And when you look at this game, Kansas dominated this game from the get-go. Kansas, they jumped out to an early lead. They had the lead at the end of the first half, and they just never looked back in this basketball game. David McCormack was fantastic in this game. He had 20 points in 25 minutes of play. Baylor just couldn't stop him. And then you look at Christian Braun, 11 points in 37 minutes of play. Marcus Garrett, 14 points in 35 minutes of play. Jalen Wilson, 7 points, but 14 rebounds in 31 minutes of play. Kansas owned the inside, the post in this basketball game, and that was what I thought was the difference in this game was Kansas's size and Kansas's rebounding and their ability to just punish the Baylor Bears on the inside. You look at Baylor, Davian Mitchell had 13 points in 38 minutes of play. Maseo Teague had 18 points and 8 rebounds in 36 minutes of play. But folks, this game just proved again what I've been talking about time and time again, and that is do not count out the Blue Bloods. Kansas, along with North Carolina, Michigan State, these Blue Bloods, if they get it going down the stretch, they are going to be scary in March. But going into our comment section, Casey King says, I agree, James. Florida State is another overhyped team. And James Gonzalez says, I was hoping Baylor would have won because I dislike blue blood schools. Yes, James, I agree with you. I don't like blue blood schools. That's why, I'm really hoping that, either Michigan or Gonzaga can win it this year so that they can, so that we can have a new team that just jumps down and be a champion. But, these blue bloods, you just can never, ever count them out. But Bill Self, man, credit to him. The last couple of games for the Kansas Jayhawks, it seems like they've turned it around there in Lawrence, Kansas. But moving on to our final college basketball game of the night, and that is another upset. And in the Big 12, Oklahoma State and Cade Cunningham come in and knock off the Oklahoma Sooners, the number 7 Oklahoma Sooners, by a final score of 94-90. Cade Cunningham, my apologies. Cade Cunningham had 40 points and 11 rebounds in 44 minutes of play for the Oklahoma State Cowboys. He was fantastic for the Oklahoma State Cowboys. And, my biggest thoughts about this game is that, number one, Cade Cunningham, I believe, is going to be the number 1 pick in the upcoming NBA draft. This guy was just outstanding in this basketball game. He was outstanding from 3. He, just had his way against the OU defense, getting to his spots and getting to the basket. The OU defense just could not stop him all day long. And, Oklahoma, this was a letdown for them. This was a big letdown for them. Austin Reeves had 22 points in 45 minutes of play. Devian Harmon had 23 points, 39 minutes of play. And then, Umoja Gibson had 14 points, 4 rebounds, and 36 minutes of play. But Cade Cunningham is for real, guys. Cade Cunningham is the real deal. If you haven't watched him play, I really recommend you guys all to go watch him play because this dude is an absolute monster. He was a beast today. I watched that game from start to finish, and man, I was just really, really impressed by Cade Cunningham. But now the Big 12 has been shaken up. You have Oklahoma State winning today, Kansas knocking off number 2 Baylor. It's going to be really fun to see who takes the Big 12 as the season winds down in the coming weeks, and also as we go into the conference tournaments. It's going to be so much fun to see. But, comment down below. Which team do you guys think right now is the best team in the Big 12? We had the top teams that were in the Big 12 lose today, and the teams that you didn't really think were going to win, they won over the top teams in the Big 12. So the Big 12 is it's a mess right now in terms of, deciding who is the best team in that conference. But going into our comment section, Christy Wilson tunes in tonight and says, not a fan of blue blood schools. Casey King also says, Kansas is another team that could be really good or they tank. You never know with them. I agree with you on that, Casey. Kansas is very up and down. You don't know which Kansas team is going to show up, whether it's the Kansas team from today or the bad Kansas team. So we'll see come NCAA tournament time, but you can never count out Bill Self. Christy Wilson says, great job by Oklahoma State. James Gonzalez says, it's rare to have a college player score 40 points in a game. Congrats to Cade Cunningham on doing that today. Cade Cunningham is an absolute monster, and I think that he's going to be a top pick in the upcoming NBA draft. And James says, in response to my question about which team right now is the best team in the Big 12, he thinks that it is Baylor in his opinion. But we go from college basketball to the NBA, and we had a couple of great games on the docket for tonight. We start in Philadelphia, where a surprising upset happened in Philadelphia as the Cleveland Cavaliers, the 13-21 Cavaliers, go into Philly and knock off the number one team in the East by a final score of 112-109 in overtime. And let me tell you guys this, folks. This was an outstanding game. I watched it from start to finish. The Cavs had the lead. The Sixers battled back. The Cavs retake the lead. The Sixers battled back. And then it was just a nail-biter in the fourth quarter and in overtime. But what really stood out to me about this game is the play of the Cleveland Cavaliers' young backcourt. You look at Colin Sexton and you look at Darius Garland. You guys know how big of a Colin Sexton fan I am. I've been praising this dude from the start of the season on till now. Colin Sexton, 28 points in 44 minutes of play. He was lights out down the stretch for the Cavaliers. He had a clutch three that helped the Cavaliers tie the game and force overtime, and then he was good in overtime as well. Darius Garland, 25 points in 42 minutes of play and also 9 assists. He was outstanding down the stretch as well and also in overtime. And then you look at, Isaac Okoro, the first-round pick for the Cleveland Cavaliers. He had 15 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 assists in 34 minutes of play. But the most important thing is that is not going to show up on the stat sheet is Isaac Okoro was fantastic defensively down the stretch for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And then Dean Wade, he's been an absolute monster on the glass since he's been inserted into the starting lineup by head coach J.B. Bickerstaff. He had 6 points, 12 rebounds in 27 minutes. The guy that, I was really also impressed by is Dylan Windler. I've been a big Dylan Windler fan since he got drafted. He can shoot the lights out from three. But the problem with Dylan Windler is he cannot stay healthy. But he had 8 points, 6 rebounds in 26 minutes of play, knocked down a couple of big triples down the stretch for the Cavs. And, you look at the other guys, Damian Dotson, 10 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds, and 19 minutes of play. But I think the big story in this game was the backcourt of the Cavaliers. Colin Sexton, Darius Garland, just outstanding in this basketball game. They willed the Cavaliers to the victory in this game. And watch out, everybody. These guys, they are just in their, third year and, in Garland's case, his second year. They are young, but they are coming. This backcourt is going to be prolific, I believe, in the next several years. And the Cavaliers are very lucky to have those two guys manning their backcourt. And if you look at the Sixers, Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, they did their thing. Joel Embiid had 42 points and 13 rebounds. Ben Simmons, 24 points, 8 assists, 7 rebounds. They weren't the problem. The problem was the supporting cast. Danny Green, 9 points, 4 rebounds in 37 minutes of play. He was 3 of 9 from downtown in this game. Seth Curry, 4 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. He was 1 for 8 in this game shooting from downtown. Those two guys, when they get cold like that, the Sixers cannot win basketball games because when Embiid and when Simmons, they're carrying the load, they need the supporting cast to step up and knock down the triples and do what they're supposed to do. Dwight Howard, he wasn't good in this game, 1 point and 4 rebounds. Shake Milton had 11 points, but I also think that the bigger story of this game was the Sixers not having Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris is that third star that the Sixers have right now. And when he's not in the starting lineup and when he's not playing, you could see the impact that he makes on the court. He's the guy that, makes the defense not be able to focus all their attention on just Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, because when you do, you leave Tobias Harris open and you let him get free buckets, and you cannot let that happen with Tobias Harris and how well he's playing this season. So the Sixers absolutely need Tobias Harris to come back and be himself and play at a really high level if they were to compete for an NBA championship. But going into our comment section, Casey King says, Sixers, another overhyped team and can be beat. I totally agree with you on that, Casey. I do think they can be beat, but I think that tonight, you can't really say that tonight was the Sixers. Like, it wasn't, a microcosm of the Sixers. I think that it was just a matter of not having Tobias Harris and his presence in the lineup for the Sixers. I think if Tobias Harris plays in this game, I think it's a different story for the Philadelphia 76ers. James says, I know it's the regular season, but I'm disappointed in Philly losing to Cleveland. So am I as well. But James, I think that Philly's going to be fine. I just think that they have to get Harris back, and they can't, look down on these like garbage teams like Cleveland or some of the other garbage teams in the East, because these teams, they are showing that, when Philly looks down on them, Philly can be beat. Cleveland is 2-0 this season against the Philadelphia 76ers, and James also says the Eastern Conference, from the 4th to the 14th spot, looks like the NFC East in 2020. Great comment, James. The Cavs, they still have a shot at the play-in tourney somehow. Yeah, I think the Cavs, they do have a shot, but we'll see, because the Cavaliers, when you look at this team, they don't have that much three-point shooting besides Sexton and Garland and maybe Windler, although he's kind of inconsistent right now, even though he's a second-year player. The Cavaliers, they don't have that, guy that you could trust to knock down threes on a consistent basis. The team right now looks like they're playing basketball in the 1980s. They're playing a brand of basketball in which they defend at a really high level, and also they look for twos. They look to drive to the basket and get layups, or go and get floaters and mid-range. That's not really how the NBA is supposed to be played right now. You're supposed to be, right now in the NBA, you're supposed to, shoot threes and play great defense. The Cavaliers play good defense, but they're always looking for twos, and they're looking for mid-ranges and looking for floaters instead of looking for threes, because this team is just not capable of knocking down threes on a consistent basis. I think the Cavaliers right now, if I'm not mistaken, they're ranked in the bottom of the entire NBA when it comes to three-point shooting. They really got to get that up if they really want to compete for a playoff spot in the East. But moving on to our final NBA game for tonight before we jump into our headlines for this Saturday night, and we go to Brooklyn, where the Brooklyn Nets faced off against Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks in Brooklyn on prime time on ABC, and the Dallas Mavericks snapped the Brooklyn Nets win streak. They beat the Brooklyn Nets by a final score of 115-98 at the Barclays Center. But ladies and gentlemen, this game was the Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis show. We talked all week and all like the last 2-3 weeks about how should the Mavericks trade Kristaps Porzingis. Porzingis is just not looking like the player that he once was due to the injuries, but Porzingis was great in this basketball game. You look at the stats from this basketball game. Luka had 27 points. He had 7 assists, 6 rebounds. He was terrific in this game. But I think besides Porzingis, it was just bad defense from the Brooklyn Nets, as well as the Dallas Mavericks getting contributions from everybody from top to bottom of their team. Dorian Finney-Smith, 12 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. Max Kleber, 6 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. He was good in the beginning. Kristaps Porzingis, 18 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, including 2 great dunks in this basketball game. Luka, like we mentioned, 27 points, 7 assists, 6 rebounds in 34 minutes of play. And then you look from the bench. Josh Richardson, 11 points, 3 assists, 2 rebounds. Jalen Brunson, 14 points. Tim Hardaway Jr., 13 points. Willie Cauley-Stein, 6 points. Trey Burke, 6 points. The Dallas Mavericks got contributions from every player from top to bottom on their team. And then you compare that to the Brooklyn Nets. James Harden was great, 29 points, 6 assists, 7 rebounds. But the rest of the Brooklyn Nets, I know they didn't have Kyrie. I know they didn't have Kevin Durant. But the rest of the Brooklyn Nets supporting cast did not show up. And the Brooklyn Nets, the Brooklyn Nets, what really plagued them when they had that losing streak before they went on this recent winning streak is their bad defense, and that showed up again tonight as the Dallas Mavericks just torched the Brooklyn Nets on the offensive side of the ball. And, the thing about the Brooklyn Nets that really, boggles my mind, ladies and gentlemen, is that I don't know which defensive team will show up. Is the team that we saw tonight that plays on defense, are they going to show up? Or are we going to have the team that went on that winning streak and defended at a really high level and held teams like the Lakers and the Suns to very low output in terms of points? Is that team going to show up? Which I don't know what team is going to show up on a nightly basis when it comes to the defensive side for the Brooklyn Nets. If the team that plays tonight on defense shows up, the Brooklyn Nets can forget about winning a championship. They're going to get swept by the Lakers, or they're going to lose in 5 games. Or they might not even get out of the Eastern Conference if they play defense like how they did tonight. But if the team that plays the way that they played against the Lakers, they played when they went on that winning streak, if they play defense like how they played when they went on that winning streak, watch out. The Brooklyn Nets are going to be a problem. Edward Lee says the Mavs did. Congrats in their season by the run. Also, James Gonzalez says, I didn't pay much attention to the Mavs Nets games because of Kyrie and KD's injuries. My focus was on the other team in the New York area. The Knicks are 500 and tied for the 4th spot. I know that's crazy, right, James? Who could have ever thought that the New York Knicks were going to be 500 and in 4th place in the Eastern Conference about 2 months into the season? I mean, that nobody would have ever thought that. James also says, this is how the Mavericks are supposed to play, just like last season when everybody is healthy. I think the Mavs, they're going to be fine come playoff time. It's just about getting that chemistry between everybody in their team. I know Porzingis has missed some time. He's been in and out of the lineup. Brunson's been in and out. They've just had a lot of, guys miss time due to injuries or guys miss time from COVID. They're going to be fine. It's about getting the chemistry right now. And if the Mavs can get that chemistry that we saw that they had last season, they are going to be a problem in the NBA playoffs. And then James also says, I want to see more defense played in the NBA. So sick of these high scores in the majority of the game. Yeah, James, I agree with you. The teams, they need to play better defense. I mean, the Lakers showed it last year. The Lakers did not have one of the best offenses in the NBA, but why did they win a championship? They won a championship because they had one of the best defenses in the NBA. They showed the world defense still matters in the NBA. So these NBA teams, if they want to win a championship, you got to play good defense in order to win an NBA championship. But moving on to our headlines for tonight, and moving our first headline, we go back to college basketball, where the Alabama Crimson Tide defeated the Mississippi State Bulldogs by a final score of 64-59, thus clinching them the SEC regular season title. The Alabama Crimson Tide right now are 19-6. They're 14-2 in conference play. Nate Oates, their head coach, has done a fabulous job, turning that program around. And let me say this. First of all, when I first saw that Alabama had clinched the SEC regular season title, I was like, am I looking at football stats? Am I looking at what Alabama is doing in football? And then I realized it said college basketball, and I was really shocked because I don't really follow college basketball, or I didn't used to follow college basketball really that much until NCAA tournament time in March. But now when I'm watching these games, when I'm watching Michigan, when I'm watching North Carolina today, when I'm watching some of these games, Alabama, man, they are good. I never knew that Alabama was this good in college basketball. Nate Oates, like I said, he's done a fabulous job with that basketball team. And I think Alabama, they could be a problem as well come NCAA tournament time. Yes, James, right there. Wait, Alabama is good at basketball too? Oh, good God. Ha, ha, ha. Yeah, James, I totally agree with you there. I didn't even know Alabama was good at basketball. I thought they were only good at football, and that's it. But, man, credit goes to Nate Oates. He's completely turned the culture around in the 2 years that he's been there at Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And Alabama, watch out for them come NCAA tournament time. But moving on to our second headline for tonight. And Callan, if you're watching this show right now, I really hope, or if you're not watching, I really hope you tune in, because this new headline is for you, and that is the San Diego Padres. The San Diego Padres are reportedly, according to Padres insider Kevin Acee, who joined the Darren Smith show, he said that, I'm told the Padres are working on something. I'm just kind of in shock if that comes together. It's reportedly going to be a really big deal. My first thought is this. Why? As a Phillies and A's fan, why can't my team have a general manager that is like A.J. Preller? Just why? I get Billy Beane is going to be a future Hall of Famer. Dave Dombrowski is going to be a future Hall of Famer as well. But why can't we have a team or not a team, but a general manager that is aggressive like A.J. Preller? And why can't we have an ownership that wants to spend money to win? Why do we have to be stuck with, garbage ownership that is too cheap to spend, or ownership that doles out a lot of money, but management doesn't know how to sign the right players to construct a championship team? Why? The Padres they already loaded up with a bunch of talent this offseason. They got Blake Snell, they got Yu Darvish, they signed Tatis to a monster 14-year, $340 million contract. You add that to the young core that they have and all those pieces that they had that they got from trades last season. Man, I don't know what deal they're trying to make right now. I can just speculate. But, man, the Padres are already a great team. They're going to be great this season, but they're going to be even better. And that is just really scary for everybody across Major League Baseball. Kevin Acee said that they're working on something big. So I'm looking at it as the Padres, the rotation is going to be great. They have a great lineup as well. The Padres' one weakness, though, is the bullpen. And I think the Padres, if I have to speculate, if I have to guess, I think that the Padres are trying to land a big name closer, whether it's a trade or whether it's, I don't think there's like really that many good closers left in free agency. But if I have to guess, I'm going to go with Josh Hader, the closer for the Milwaukee Brewers, because it says something big. So Josh Hader is right now the top closer on the trade market. He's a guy that the Brewers have been reportedly trying to get rid of since the trade deadline of last season. He's a phenomenal closer. He would be a dynamic addition to that San Diego Padres team. I mean, last year, you look at his stats, he didn't have he had like a decent season last year. Not a good season in terms of Josh Hader standards. He pitched to a 3.79 ERA. He had 13 saves, but the year prior, 2.62 ERA, 37 saves. I mean, this guy's just a dynamic arm coming out of the bullpen. If you add him to the Padres, I mean, you might just say to the Padres, I think Hader would put the Padres. This might be like really controversial, but I could see Hader being the guy that puts the Padres ahead of the Dodgers in the NL West. But man, the NL West is going to be fun to watch this season, especially the Padres and the Dodgers games. Those are going to be like, World Series preview type of matchups. But going into our comment section, Austin Morrison, thank you for tuning in and checking the show out tonight. We really appreciate you. Austin says Nate Oates came from Buffalo in the MAC. That's crazy if you think about it. Yeah, he's done a phenomenal job there in Alabama. He's completely turned the culture around, completely turned that program around as well. And he's just amazing for that Alabama Crimson Tide basketball program. James Gonzalez, the Padres are in talks to acquire God. Hey, maybe, who knows? Maybe that's what they're working on right now. But Austin also says, I'm with you on that. Been a Reds fan all my life, and the Reds are always scared to take risks and spend the money on big names. Yeah, man, Austin, I feel bad for you, man. I'm an A's and Phillies fan, and it's just really frustrating, like on the A's side, because we have a young core and the ownership, even though the owner is worth like $3 billion in net worth, the owner just doesn't want to spend a single dime. So we're stuck always, contending for 3-4 seasons, and then right when the players are up for new contracts and up for free agency, we either let them walk like Marcus Semien and Liam Hendricks, or we just trade them away 1 year or 2 years before they become a free agent. It's just so frustrating. Casey King says Padres Dodgers matchups are going to be very exciting. Totally agree with you on that. Those are going to be very, very exciting matchups. I can't wait for them this season. But moving on to our final headline for tonight, and that is the NBA announced yesterday that Jason Tatum has replaced Kevin Durant as an all-star starter. When I look at this move, the question is, did the NBA make the right decision by, inserting Tatum as an all-star starter to replace Kevin Durant? I think so. I think the NBA made the right decision, because when you look at the reserves right now that you could have elevated to the starter role in place of Kevin Durant, I would say that Jason Tatum, I think he's the best out of all the reserves that are available to be inserted into the starter role. You look at guys like Domantas Sabonis. I think Tatum is better than him. You also look at, Ben Simmons. I would say Tatum is better than him. Plus, he plays the forward position, and Ben Simmons plays the guard position, so that would not really match up that well. And then you also, you look at some of these guys. Right now, you look at Jaylen Brown. I like Jaylen Brown, but I still think Tatum is better. Plus, Tatum plays the forward. Brown plays the guard. Harden's better than Tatum, but again, Durant forward. You need a forward to replace him. Harden is a guard, and then Levine, I would say Tatum is better. Randall, Tatum is better. And, Vucevic plays the center, so it just doesn't make sense. So I think that the NBA did make the right decision. I think that Jason Tatum, who's having a phenomenal season, he is the right choice to be elevated into the starter role. In place of Kevin Durant. So I do, in fact, believe that the NBA made the right decision. But feel free to comment down below. What do you guys think? Did the NBA make the right decision in terms of elevating Jason Tatum to now an NBA All-Star starter? I really want to see what you guys have to say about that. But ladies and gentlemen, it's time for our favorite segment here on the Night Shift, especially Saturday episodes of the Night Shift, and that is Game Balls. All right, it's Game Balls time, ladies and gentlemen. If you guys don't know how our Game Balls segment works, what we do is everybody has one game ball, and you just give it out and recognize the player or the coach or the executive that had a great week this past week in terms of their performance. And so for me, my game ball is going to go to Cade Cunningham, the guard of the Oklahoma State Sooners, for his performance today against the Cade Cunningham for Oklahoma State Cowboys, not Oklahoma State Sooners, my bad on that, but Cade Cunningham, the guard for the Oklahoma State Cowboys. He had a fantastic game against the Oklahoma Sooners tonight. He had 40 points. It is very rare to see in college basketball for a player to put up 40 points. He did just that. He had a monster game. He was outstanding from the shooting the three ball. He was great when it came to, getting the ball to the basket, driving in for layups and floaters and mid-range. He was just outstanding, and he was all over the place, both offensively and defensively for Oklahoma State, and he was a big part of why Oklahoma State upset Oklahoma today in the basketball version of the Red River Showdown. So that's my game ball going out to Cade Cunningham, guard of the Oklahoma State Cowboys. All right, guys. Feel free to let me know in the comment section what you guys or who your game ball goes to. My game ball, once again, going out to the Oklahoma State guard Cade Cunningham for his 40-point performance today in the big upset that OSU pulled off over Oklahoma. But ladies and gentlemen, it's been a fantastic program tonight, but it's time to wrap things up and head into tonight's final thoughts. All right, before we get into final thoughts, I just want to read James's comment. He says that my game ball goes to Kristaps Porzingis for playing well despite the trade rumors he has had to hear or read about. That's a great choice, James. Porzingis, definitely major props goes out to him. He's been dangled in so many rumors, whether it's to the Warriors or, I've even heard about the Miami Heat and, Boston Celtics as potential teams that he's been linked to, but he's just, kept his head high, and he's been playing really good basketball the last week for the Dallas Mavericks. And Edward Lee says his game ball goes out to Steph Curry. But my final thoughts for tonight's show. Actually, before I get into final thoughts, I want to thank Edward, James, Austin Morrison, as well as Casey King, as well as Christy Wilson, SG, Roberto Hastings, and Callan McClure for tuning in to our program for tonight. Really appreciate all of you guys for tuning in to tonight's show. We had a blast, or I had a blast talking sports with y'all. Tomorrow we're going to have another episode of The Night Shift at approximately 10 p.m. Pacific time, so make sure you guys tune in for that, as we're going to have another great program for you guys. Also, quick announcement before we sign off for tonight. I just want to give a quick heads up to you guys that on Wednesday, March 8th, which is in about, I believe, 8 days, either 8 or 9 days, Wild Sports Talk with myself, Sammy Sharp, and Jonathan Mathis, we are going to be doing a free agency preview. NFL free agency is just around the corner, and we will compile a big list of NFL free agents. And me, Jonathan Mathis, as well as Sammy Sharp, we will pick and choose where we believe those free agents will go. So make sure you guys tune in for that. It's going to be a great episode. And also, quick heads up, there will not be an episode of Wild Sports Talk on March 10th because, we've got some stuff that came up just a couple of hours ago, so we got to attend to that. But just quick show announcements for you guys. And also, once again, if you guys haven't done yet, go check out our YouTube channel, MI6 Sports Network. Go search it up on YouTube. Check it out. Give us a subscribe on YouTube. We would really, really appreciate that. We have new short videos coming out every single day from our various programs here on the network. So go check that out. I'm sure you guys will love it. And one final comment before we sign off for tonight. Austin Morrison's game ball, Michigan basketball team. They've been winning even after their pause. They are on a roll right now. Great choice, Austin. I totally agree with you. Michigan's on a roll right now. They've won 7 in a row. Juwan Howard's done a fabulous job with that program. Franz Wagner is playing really outstanding basketball. Isaiah Livers is playing outstanding basketball as well. Michigan, I believe, in my opinion, that they are right now the best team in college basketball. And ladies and gentlemen, but actually before we sign off for the night, I did just get something that I want to share with you guys on the air. This might be some breaking news right now here on the MI6 Sports Network. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's not, breaking news out of the sports world, but I just wanted to show you guys this. I just got this text from my man, Stephen Wang, and this is very, very significant because Stephen Wang, like you guys all know, he's an Ohio State of love. He's never going to admit when Michigan is the best at something. He just never will do it because everybody at Ohio State is taught they have to hate Michigan. They can never admit when Michigan is the best at something. But tonight, my man Stephen Wang told me in our private text that we have, I just want to share this with you guys. He's admitted Michigan is officially the best team in the country. It's very rare. I think this is like the first time ever that Stephen has said something like that. So Stephen, props to you, my man, for recognizing greatness. And also, thank you for giving me that text. So whenever you try to, go away from your opinion, I have that on you now, buddy. But it's been a great program, guys. Thank you guys so much once again for tuning in to the show. Really appreciate you guys. Make sure you guys tune in tomorrow night for another episode of The Night Shift here on the MI6 Sports Network. But until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and we will see you guys tomorrow night.